peekaboo, peekaboo. Sissy had me heart scalded listening to her playing with the chubby little fella in the pram. Telling him to say drink of water, say drink of water. He goes, drink a wabba. And she starts clapping and looking for me to clap along. And then he dribbles down his chin and she's wiping him off and he's howling and she shoves the bottle in his mouth to silence him. Between Sissy gurgling at the child and Edie shouting at the twins, Tommy and Jackie, near 4-year-olds, dressed in their matching little sailor outfits, I could get no peace. The brothers were there playing on the sand, buckets and spades, and Jackie had built a sandcastle, and then Tommy had kicked it over because he's a little headstrong. And then Jackie pushed him over, and there was tears and Sissy shouting to come here and threatening to cut the legs off them. And if they didn't behave, we'd all go home and there'd be no more beach and then they'd be sorry. Little Tommy comes blubbering over and Sissy wiping his tears saying, nasty bold Jackie, she says. Nasty bold Jackie. And she's mollycoddling Tommy. Who's your sweetheart? Is Edie your sweetheart? Is Edie your sweetheart? No, says the little sailor. And he stops crying. Am I your sweetheart? Is it me that's your sweetheart? And Edie joins in. Is Sissy your sweetheart? No, says Tommy and starting to laugh. Sissy picks him up and turning him to me, she says, is Gerty your sweetheart? And he says nothing. And in the moment he says nothing, I feel a kind of panic come over me. Is Gerty your sweetheart? And Tommy looks at me. For a second I hope his answer is yes. Even though he's a little 4-year-old, I hope he says, yes, Gerty's my sweetheart. But I know he won't. And then, more forceful than before, he goes, no! And escapes Sissy to run off and play with his brother. So I was watching the two little men in their sailor outfits, thinking that I was foolish for wanting a little boy to say I was his sweetheart. Silly, I know, but it would have been nice to hear just once. Sat there seeing the two little sailors playing ball, looked across the bay to where the mailboat was coming in. And I wondered to myself how real sailors manage without the company of a woman with all that time they spend out at sea. They must get fierce lonely. Suppose they manage somehow. I watched as the dark sky was coming up over the horizon, like it was pushing the daylight back west towards the city. Everything, the sky, the sea, seemed to be in all different shades of blue. All still and quiet. When bam, got whacked on the side of the leg by the big colour ball that little Tommy had kicked. I would have loved to have given him a cuff in the ear, but I didn't want to go chasing him over the strand because, well, I was wearing my light blue stockings and I was never one for running. And I knew I'd never be able to catch him. I brushed the sand off where the ball had hit, straightened my skirt and lay back on the rock. I wished to God that Sissy would take her brothers home, or at least away from me, and stop all this bustling about. Little beasts. What woman in her right mind would have them if she didn't have to? And little boys are all cries, tears and snots, pushing and pulling at each other all the time. And they're so rough, you can't have a single nice thing around any of them. They can't touch a thing without breaking it. I mean, could a girl not just be let alone to enjoy the evening, just sit on a rock, on the strand, and be left alone with her own quiet thoughts? It's not as if I was asking for much. I looked down the curve of the strand going in towards the city and saw the first of the lights being lit in the distance. Then, Tommy! It was Sissy. Tommy'd kicked the ball towards the waves and they all ran to stop him running in. It's not like he was going to drown or anything. But I suppose Sissy was worried he'd spoil his sailor suit. For a few lovely moments, I was alone. I saw the lighthouse across the bay at Howth, its light just about peeping out against the evening sky. The tide was coming in, pushing the seaweed up over the rocks. I got this feeling that I would float it up out of my body. I was high above Dublin Bay and could see the two great promontories of Howth and Kingstown, like the strong arms of a man that might come crashing around you and squeeze you tight in an embrace. Oh, to be held, to be loved, to feel love, some kind of love, to be kissed and held tight by the arms of one who loves loving you. But the moment was ruined by the sound of the choir from over the road at the Star of the Sea singing the Tanta Murgo. I'd no idea what the Tanta Murgo meant, but I knew the tune. I knew if it was being sung, it was the end of the benediction. Soon they'd all come bursting out of the church, marching along, clean full to the brim in the knowledge that God had seen them there and made them pure, so they could go off and do whatever it is they do all over again. Scuttling along with their faces screwed tight and their piety renewed. God help all of us. I was wearing my new electric blue blouse. Colour was all the rage. Cut down to just there. I'd matched it with a navy 3/4 skirt, light blue stockings, matching garter. My knickers were a pale blue. I'd 4 pairs. Sea green, rose pink, mauve. I'd worn the pale blue ones that day and I'd turned them on inside out because that was for luck and lovers meeting, except on Fridays. And because blue is the colour for the bride-to-be, and I was thinking of Reggie Wiley, who rode his bicycle past my window each night. And Sissy would tease me saying I shouldn't encourage him. He was young, of course, too young for me, only 17. Protestant, but still handsome with a straight nose. Going to study medicine in Trinity College soon. Hard to think that years ago, when he was still in short trousers, he had the cheek to put his arm around me, steal a kiss and run away. Wasn't a real kiss either, he just sort of got the tip of me nose and the smallest of touches on me Cupid's bow. For a moment, I imagined what it would be like to have a day of wedding bells where I became Mrs. Reggie Wiley, TCD. He would have learned to love me in time. Perhaps. Perhaps. I could have been. No. So, little Tommy and little Jackie are playing with the big coloured ball. And Jackie whooshes it as far as he can, past his brother and over to the rocks beyond. It landed at the feet of a gentleman dressed in black. I hadn't noticed him before. He was just sort of sitting there, all alone. Jackie and Tommy are crying out for their toy, and the gentleman picks up the ball, and after a couple of practice throws, he whooshes the ball back in our direction. Came flying over both the boys, past Sissy, and landed in a little pool beside me. And the sea water splashed up on me. There was little harm done. I knew it would wash out. Then the boys were looking for me to kick the ball back to them, so I shifted up my skirt a little. And with my best leg, I pelted it as hard as I could, past the shingle, and then Sissy and the boys went running after. I settled myself back on the rock, and I could see the gentleman was looking at me, staring at me. He'd a foreign look off him. Dark eyes and a pale sort of intellectual face. He looked to me like he was in deepest mourning. I would have given worlds to know what for. I was thinking perhaps it was for a lost love. Perhaps she'd died and he'd vowed to forever walk in his mourning suit. Or maybe her father had married her off to a man she didn't love, and now he sits alone, staring out to sea, in search of her, in desperate broken love. Who could tell? All I knew was that there was great mystery in those dark eyes, and he was piercing through me. I felt my cheeks flush a little from his attentions. He couldn't take his eyes off me. He'd put his hand in his pocket, deep in his pocket. We exchanged a quick glance. Couldn't take his eyes off me. I could tell he thought I was beautiful. He looked at me like I was. I raised my knee a little, and my skirt raised up. What harm could it do? Watching him, thought he had the saddest face there's ever been. The last strains of the Tantamargo rang out from the Star of the Sea as this mystery man kept his eyes on me. My leg kept the rhythm of the chant behind, as this man of mystery watched all the time. She who was without sin, pray for us. Honourable vessel, pray for us. Spiritual vessel, pray for us. And he kept watching all the time, his eyes on me, his hand dug deeper and deeper into his pocket. He knew that I could see. I thought maybe he could be the husband for me and hold me tight, close in his arms, watching him, watching me. I felt my cheeks flush full scarlet and my heart raced. And then fireworks burst out into the sky, and a rocket sprang and shot free, and a Roman candle burst like a sigh, and and everyone cried, it gushed out of him, a stream of rain, gold hair, threads, and they shed, and all greeny and dewy like stars falling on gold. Oh, so lively, oh, so soft, soft, sweet and soft. What harm? I looked over at him and he was straightening his shirt. I closed my eyes a moment, and when I opened them again, he was looking at me, like his eyes were kissing me. I smiled at him. Gerty, come here, look, the fireworks. It was Sissy crying out to me. And I got up and walked towards her and the children, stepping down heavily on the damp sand. Watched the rest of the fireworks light up the night sky, leaving me mystery man to himself, to be alone again. After a few steps, I thought I'd share one last look with him. Well, he might want to know my name. or even to ask me out. Go to the theatre, or somewhere nice to hear a band play. Hold hands. I'd find out his mystery. Yes, that would have been nice. He was a bit older than me, but so what? I wouldn't have minded a man with a few flecks of grey in his hair, a manly man with a strong face and brooding eyes. Would have been nice to have been married to a man who cared, a man who looked at you with that kind of love. Who wouldn't want that? But when I turned around to look for him, he was gone. Disappeared behind the rocks, maybe. I never saw him again. No matter how many times I went to sit in the rocks. Just for that moment, I'd felt desired, wanted, needed. He saw me as beautiful. He hadn't noticed I was lame. He saw nothing wrong with me. He just saw a girl sitting on a rock. I like to think that he may have even loved me. If only for a little while. Who knows?